The girl who knew the rules. Some people say heartbreak comes like a storm, loud, messy, sudden. But mine came like a contract. A quiet agreement. Mutual. Logical. At least, that's how it started. I met Alina in a philosophy class during our second semester. She was that kind of girl who didn't chase attention, but got it anyway. Sleek black hair always tied in a braid, silver-rimmed glasses, and a tone in her voice that made professors pause and students glance up from their screens. We weren't a couple. Not officially. That was the point. She made it clear the first time we kissed, under the stairwell of the library, after a night of exchanging Descartes quotes and making fun of each other's playlists. "I don't do drama," she said, breath warm against my neck. "We can be something, but not everything. No expectations, no jealousy, no questions." I had just gotten out of a toxic relationship, and I nodded too quickly, too eagerly. It sounded clean. Safe. We had rules. No posting about each other. No interfering with each other's dating lives. No falling in love. And most importantly, no pretending it was more than what it was. It was all so very mature. So very controlled. And for a while, it worked. We studied together, hooked up on the weekends, exchanged little in-jokes through text, and parted ways on Monday like nothing ever happened. But what started as a game began to feel more like a ritual. Familiar. Needed. She knew when I was anxious about exams. I knew when she was secretly sad after calling her dad. We stopped seeing other people, even though we didn't say it. We stopped talking about the rules. One night, after a party, we ended up on her rooftop. Alina was lying on the gravel, looking up at the stars like she was trying to decipher something in them. "I think if people knew how to want less," she said, "they'd hurt less." I turned to look at her. "And if they wanted nothing?" I asked. She smiled faintly. "Then they'd be free." I didn't say it out loud, but I had already broken rule number 3. I was in love with her. Not in a cheesy, rom-com way. It was the kind of love that scared you. Because it wasn't grand or obvious. It was insidious. Quiet. It crept into your habits, into the way you said good morning, into the pauses between your texts. But I kept my mouth shut. I didn't want to break the illusion. Then came the switch. That's what I call the moment it all changed, though I didn't know it at the time. She stopped answering texts quickly. Our nights together got shorter. She started canceling plans, with vague excuses about study groups and being tired. And I, idiot that I was, convinced myself it was just a phase. Until the department's annual debate showcase. She was scheduled to argue the ethical implications of AI surveillance. I was sitting front row, proud like a fool, thinking maybe we could get dinner after. She walked on a stage, and standing next to her, on the opposite podium, was Kieran Lawson, the grad student everyone had a crush on, including half the faculty. They were laughing before the debate even started. And when it ended, the audience applauded wildly, not just for the arguments, but for the chemistry. The way they looked at each other like they were the only two people in the room. I clapped too, even when I felt like I'd swallowed a hot stone. Later that night, I texted her, "You were incredible today." She replied an hour later. "Thanks. Kieran's brain is ridiculous. I learned so much from him." No emoji, no heart, not even a damn period. Just silence after that. I waited, and waited, until 2:13 a.m. when I checked her Instagram. She didn't post about me. She never had. But there it was, a black and white candid photo. Her laughing. Kieran next to her, holding a coffee cup. The caption? "When minds match up." And the comments? "Power couple. You two have such a vibe. Brains and beauty." And her reply to one of them? "Haha, we'll see winking face." I threw my phone. I didn't break the rules. She did. And the worst part? I realized she never planned on following them. She made the rules to protect herself, not to protect me. And now, as I lay in bed staring at the cracked screen of my phone, I finally admitted to myself. The rules weren't there to stop us from falling in love. They were there to make sure I was the only one who ever would. I didn't go to class the next day. My phone screen was still cracked, spiderwebbed from where I'd thrown it against the edge of my desk. But that didn't stop me from staring at that photo again and again, like some sick ritual I couldn't stop performing. Her, laughing. Him, too close. Everyone else, cheering them on, like they were some star-crossed academic couple the campus needed. No one knew what we were. But she knew. She knew what I felt, even if I never said it. She had to know, and that made it worse. By Wednesday, I finally dragged myself to campus. I sat in the back of our usual lecture hall, hoodie up, earbuds, and even though there was no music playing, she walked in with Kieran, not beside him, behind him, which, somehow, hurt even more. They took seats in the front row, where she and I used to sit together, side by side, stealing glances, occasionally brushing knees under the table like idiots. They didn't touch, but they didn't have to. It was in the way they leaned in when they spoke, the way she smiled at something he whispered, the way she twirled her pen like she was trying not to look excited. I didn't stay for the end of class. Later that evening, she texted, "Alina, hey, haven't seen you around. You okay?" Just that. No guilt. No explanation. Just casual check-in, like I was a plant she'd forgotten to water. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I did something stupid. I replied, "Me. Just tired. Life stuff. Alina, got it. If you need to talk, I'm here." She was there, but not for me. Friday night used to be our night. She'd come over in sweatpants, drop her bag, toss her braid over her shoulder, and take over my bed like she owned it. We'd order Thai food, watch dumb horror movies, and pretend like we were just friends who occasionally made out and maybe accidentally fell asleep in each other's arms. But that Friday night, I sat alone. No text, no knock, no smell of her peppermint shampoo on my pillow. I scrolled Instagram again, and there it was. A story from Kieran's apartment. His bookshelf, his wine glasses, a candle, her voice in the background, laughing at something he said. And then, her hand, reaching out to adjust the camera. Her hand. She never posted us. Not once. But she wasn't being careful anymore. She wasn't hiding him. Because she didn't have to. Saturday morning, I ran into her at the campus cafe. Total accident. I swear. She was in line ahead of me, her braid tucked into her hoodie, earbuds in. But when she turned and saw me, her expression froze for half a second. That fraction of hesitation before she put on her Alina face. "Hey," she said, like nothing happened. Like she hadn't just erased me and replaced me with someone who used Latin phrases unironically. I gave her a tight smile. "Hey." There was a silence. Then she pulled one earbud out and tilted her head. "We good?" I blinked. "Are we anything anymore?" Her face didn't twitch. Not even a flicker of guilt. Just that clinical calm she always wore when things got messy. "Ethan," we agreed. No expectations, remember? There it was. The clause she'd been waiting to invoke. Rule number 3, Section A. You can't be hurt if it was never real. Right? I muttered, voice low. "I just didn't think you'd drop me the second someone better came along." "It's not like that." "Then what is it like?" I stepped closer, ignoring the barista calling out names. "You ghost me for a week, laugh with him in front of a crowd, post him on your stories, and I'm supposed to pretend it's all just coincidence." She exhaled slowly, as if I was the one making things difficult. "I didn't think you'd get this detached." That word. Attached. Like I was a child clinging to a toy. Like I'd misunderstood the entire arrangement. "You told me no drama," she said softly. "So let's not make this messy." I stared at her. And for the first time, I didn't see the girl who quoted Camus and kissed me between bookshelves. I saw someone cold. Controlled. Someone who built escape hatches into everything. Even us. "Right," I said. "No mess. Just rules." She nodded, turned, and walked away with her iced latte, earbuds back in. I left the cafe and sat on the steps outside the philosophy building, phone in hand. I could have deleted her number, blocked her, but I didn't. I just stared at our last texts. At the irony of it all. She warned me from the start. She told me not to fall. But what she never said was that she wanted me to. Because she needed someone who would fall while she stayed safe. She needed someone who would take the hit when it ended. And that someone was me. The worst part wasn't the rejection. It wasn't even the fact that she moved on like it was nothing. It was how surgical it all was. Like she'd planned the exit from the beginning. Like I'd been a layover on her way to something better. Alina didn't ghost. She phased you out with precision. She made you feel like you were the one fading. Like your absence was your own decision. The following week, she barely looked at me in class. I tried ignoring her. I tried focusing on my notes, on the lecture, on anything but her. But she was magnetic. Not because she was trying to be, but because I knew what it was like to be chosen by her. To be the one she whispered to when the professor made a joke no one else understood. Now she whispered to Kieran. And I watched it all unfold like a ghost at my own funeral. I started skipping class again. It wasn't helping. Because when I wasn't watching her from afar, I was imagining worse things. Imagining them in his apartment. Her laugh. his fingers brushing her hip, her mouth on his throat the way it used to be on mine. I knew I was driving myself insane, but once your heart breaks under silence, your mind fills in the noise. One night, I finally cracked. It was raining. I was already soaked. I found myself walking past her dorm. I had no reason, no plan, but then I saw her light on, and the silhouette of two people, her and him, moving close. Too close. I should have left, but I didn't. Instead, I sent a message. Me, you win. He's better. You made your point. No reply. I waited. In the rain. Like a cliché idiot. Still nothing. Eventually, I turned around and walked home, drenched, humiliated, furious at myself for still needing anything from her. The next day, she showed up at my apartment. Just stood there in the hallway like nothing had happened. No warning. No apology. You're being dramatic, she said, her arms crossed. What the hell do you want? I asked. She stepped in without asking, typical. You can't text me things like that and then disappear. You said you didn't want expectations. And you said you didn't want anything real. I shot back. So why are you here? She flinched. For a second, a split second, her mask slipped. Because I didn't think it would hurt you like this, she whispered. I stared at her. Then you're either lying now, or you never knew me at all. Silence. You were my safe space, I continued, my voice quieter. Even if it was undefined. Even if we never put a label on it. I let you in. You knew how I looked when I was anxious. You knew how I hated my voice when I was tired. You knew things I don't let people see. And you, I shook my head. You used it as leverage. I never used you. Then what do you call leaving me without warning while you played house with Kieran? She bit her lip. Her arms dropped. Her shoulders tightened. I didn't expect it to turn into something with him, she said. We were just working late. Talking. Then things shifted. I wasn't trying to replace you. You didn't have to try. You just did. She sat down on the edge of my bed. And for the first time since this entire spiral started, she looked unsure. Not defensive. Not arrogant. Just tired. You're right, she said. I made it all about rules. About control. About not getting hurt. But you still hurt me. Because I thought you could handle it. That cut deeper than I expected. So I'm just collateral damage in your emotional experiment? She looked up, eyes glassy. Not crying. Just, what at the corners? You were the first person I felt safe with. But the second it started feeling real, I panicked. I didn't know what to do with that. I scoffed. So you picked the guy who didn't scare you. She didn't deny it. We sat in silence for a while. The kind that's too full of things left unsaid. Then she stood up. I'll leave you alone, she said quietly. But for what it's worth, Ethan, you weren't a mistake. You were just a lesson? She didn't answer. She just left. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, trying to convince myself that closure had happened. But there's no such thing when someone chooses to walk away and still tries to make it sound poetic. You don't get closure from the girl who made her exit a performance. You just get the echo of what she left behind. People say time heals everything. That's a lie. Time doesn't heal. It buries. It covers your wounds in layers of numbness until you forget why you bled in the first place. Until memories turn from daggers to dull knives, still there, still sharp on bad days, but no longer fatal. Alina became that dull knife, but she still cut. Weeks passed. I stopped checking her social media, stopped walking past her dorm, stopped asking our mutual friends if she still asked about me. They said she didn't. Eventually, I stopped asking. But then came the email. An official university invitation, the senior showcase, a night of performances, presentations, and awards. A place where the most talented students presented their final projects. Of course, Alina's name was front and center. I debated skipping it. But part of me, the part still tied to her through invisible threads, couldn't stay away. When I arrived, the auditorium was packed. Every seat filled. Spotlights aimed. And there she was, center stage. God. Even after everything, she still looked like the moment paused for her. Her hair pulled back, a small mic looped around her cheek, her voice soft and articulate as she spoke about her research, her creative work, her journey of identity and boundaries. The irony burned. She said words like, knowing when to walk away from emotional patterns, learning self-protection without self-destruction, making peace with temporary people. Every phrase a loaded gun, aimed straight at me, and she didn't even blink. People clapped. I didn't. Not because it wasn't good, it was. She was brilliant. Always had been. But because I realized something cruel. She'd turned me into a project, an anecdote, a polished story of her growth, while I was left behind with the raw footage. She got applause. I got pieces. After the event, I left early, slipped out before the mingling, before she could see me, before I had to watch her glow in the praise of strangers who had no idea what she was like in private, how methodically she detached. But fate doesn't let you escape clean. As I rounded the back stairs of the auditorium, I heard her voice behind me. "You came." I froze. She stood there alone, arms crossed, hair now loose, cheeks flushed from the adrenaline of performing. "Didn't think you'd show," she added. "Didn't think you'd notice," I muttered. She stepped closer. Of course I noticed. "You were important." I laughed bitterly. "You have a real talent for turning people into footnotes." "That's not fair." "No," I said. "It's accurate. You used me. Then you made me into a ***king metaphor in your presentation. Do I get royalties for the emotional damage?" She blinked. Not hurt. Just calculating. "You weren't damage. You were necessary. Don't you dare make this sound like some sacred journey. I bled so you could write poetry about it. You knew what you were doing, Alina. I didn't plan it. But you didn't stop it either." Silence. Then she spoke quietly. "He broke up with me." I looked up, surprised, confused, unsure if I should feel vindicated or just empty. "Kieran?" I asked. She nodded. "He said I still wasn't present, that I never really opened up, that he always felt like he was in the shadow of someone I'd already loved." That landed like a sucker punch. "And was he right?" I asked, voice shaking. She hesitated. "He was half right." "Which half?" "That I never opened up," she said. "But not because of someone I loved, because I didn't know how." I looked away. "I would have waited," I said. "I was trying to." "I know," she whispered. "But I didn't think I deserved the kind of love." "I still don't." It would have been so easy to say something profound, something forgiving, or romantic, or cinematic. But all I could say was, "That's not my problem anymore." She winced. Finally, a crack in the mask. "I'm sorry," she said. "I know," I replied. "But I stopped needing your apology weeks ago. I needed your honesty then, not now." I walked past her. Didn't look back. Didn't wait for a reply. Didn't expect one. Because finally, I wasn't the one begging for closure. She was. And I had already started healing in silence. I didn't see Alina again after that night. Not in person. But she stayed in places you can't block, the spaces between memories, in dreams you don't choose, in songs that sound too much like a moment you used to trust. She was in the scar, not the wound. And there's something eerily permanent about scars. Graduation came. I wore the robe, took the pictures, smiled for my parents, tossed the cap. I should have felt proud, accomplished, free. Instead, I felt like I had survived something, not celebrated it. When you've been in love with someone like her, healing doesn't come with milestones. It comes with slow detachment. It comes with realizations that feel small but hit hard. Like, you stop checking if she watched your story. You don't flinch when someone says her name. You walk past the place you used to meet and feel nothing. And the cruelest one of all? You realize she wasn't special. You just loved her like she was. I got a job in a new city, far enough that no one knew her name, far enough that I didn't have to explain why I flinched at red flags that looked like her. My apartment was small, quiet, no piano like hers, no incense, no secrets hiding in tea mugs or under fingernails. Just space. Space to rebuild. Space to relearn myself, without someone else's chaos distracting me from my own. I dated again. Slowly. Cautiously. Too cautiously, maybe. There was a girl named Brooke, kind eyes, warm laugh, stable energy. She wasn't like Alina at all. And that was a relief. But sometimes I caught myself looking for the drama, like I didn't know how to be loved without bleeding for it. Like I mistook peace for boredom because Alina had made me addicted to emotional war zones. I hated that about myself. So I kept going to therapy. I read books on codependency. I stopped romanticizing the one that got away and started seeing her for what she was. A lesson, not a soulmate. One night, maybe a year later, I got a message from a mutual friend. A screenshot. Alina had published a book, part memoir, part essay collection. It was getting traction. Buzz. The title? Rules of Attachment. I didn't open the preview. Didn't buy the book. But I stared at the cover for a while. Her name printed in gold. Her story reworked into something artistic. Sanitized. Beautiful. I wondered if she thanked me in the acknowledgments, or if I'd just been another anonymous catalyst for her awakening. Didn't matter. Not anymore. Because here's the truth. She used me to become someone better, but I survived her to become someone whole. Now I'm okay. Not bitter. Not broken. Just wiser. I know what manipulation feels like when it's dressed in charm. I know that some people flirt with you just to study your softness. And I know that loving someone isn't enough if they never plan to love you back in the same language. But I also know I'm capable of loving hard, deep, real. And someday, maybe, I'll meet someone who sees that and doesn't run. Someone who won't use my heart as a blueprint for a book. Someone who won't twist my loyalty into a life lesson. Someone who knows the rules, but chooses to stay anyway. The end.